Hey Griffiths, how you doing? My name is Liam, as you all know, because you're on my Facebook page, so you obviously know that. How does it get any better than that? And today we're doing number 3. Uno, due, tre. Interesting point of view. In the last few days we've been looking at this tool, interesting point of view, and how to use it. And the first one was more of an introduction about the tool, and the second one was if we use that interesting point of view tool, then everything would become dull and boring. Now, yesterday I started off with so much gratitude for Gary Douglas and the tools of access consciousness, and wow, it just blew me away, because when we actually step into that sort of gratitude that's real and true for us, it changes so many things. And I was talking yesterday to a lot of CFs and saying, my God, a CF is a certified facilitator of access. And I said, is anybody else feeling an intensity today that is just like, ugh? And a lot of people were saying yes. And if the certified facilitators of access consciousness are picking that up, then there's probably a lot of that going on in the world. So how much intensity has been showing up in your reality recently, and where have you gone out of interesting point of view, out of allowance of it, and gone into there must be something wrong, and trying to match that wrongness to somewhere where you have been invalidated in this reality. And today I woke up, everything was cool. I went to breakfast, I had a business meeting, and it didn't show up the way that I would have liked to have shown up, and I was actually disappointed. And then I listened to Gary, and he was talking a little bit about this energy of where as a kid, somewhere we were invalidated for our being, for our awareness, for our knowing, for our perceiving, for our being. And every wrongness that shows up in our reality now, we try to match it back to that first time that we were invalidated for our being, where we were made wrong for understanding, where we were made wrong not for understanding, but for being and perceiving and knowing. So, all of those of us that are willing to give up that point of creation, or that point of order, that poo point, where we bought that we as a being are integrally wrong, can we now destroy and uncreate all of that, please? Thank you. Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, all I like, short boys, miss. As I asked that question, a whole bunch of people were sending love hearts and stuff like that. And like, I had a beautiful lady with me today who was willing to, really willing to be vulnerable and ask that question. And we got to this point where at some point she had been invalidated as a being, and everything that was happening in her life, her reality, her business, her relationship, anywhere where there was a wrongness, it would always go back to this one source point for the creation of that invalidation. Let's destroy and uncreate all of that, huh? Because it's not necessary. We don't have to buy that bullshit as real. Everything that is, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Hi Voika, I haven't seen you for a while. Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, corner, short boys and beyonds. And so how do we... So an invalidation of being is so much more than just a judgment. It's sort of like where we are being us, and it is so squashed, crushed, destroyed with the charge of judgment, of anger, rage, fury, hate, whatever that was for you. And interesting point of view is this tool that will start to get us out of that. And I asked some questions today, and when I put this up, and it's sort of like, yeah, interesting point of view. Ka-ching, I'll just receive the judgment. Sometimes that's easier said than done. So where are you unwilling to receive the judgment? And everything that is will you now destroy and uncreate it all. Good and bad, right, wrong, papa, corner, short boys and mutants. And what's really come up in my reality is a lot of people who I deal with, I don't care whether they judge me. I don't care whether they're sarcastic to me. I don't care whether they hate me or love me or whatever it is. But there are some people in my reality where it just like pings. So when we have that show up in our reality, when we have that person or that group of people that like really push your buttons, that is such a gift. What if we were willing to really lower our barriers and allow them their choice without making you wrong whatsoever? Because what they're doing is they're giving you so much of a gift, because they know those buttons to push, and those are the ones that are linked to that time when you were invalidated, when you bought that your being was a wrongness. And so you can thank them and lower your barriers and be interesting point of view, and just keep going with that. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view about me. Interesting point of view, they're doing this to me. Interesting point of view, I think they're doing this to me. Interesting point of view, I'm resisting and reacting to this. Interesting point of view, I am creating an energy that is like, I just want to get them back. And interesting point of view, whatever comes up. Interesting point of view, I have that. Interesting point of view, I have that. Interesting point of view, they have that. Interesting point of view, they have that. And oh my God, it just has made so much difference for me. And there's a caveat. The caveat here is that it never shows up the way you think it is going to show up. And so I've been doing interesting point of view. I made a demand on that about 6 months ago. And I'm coming to the end of the 6 months. How does it get any better than that? And as a humanoid, I'm going to leave it to the last 10 seconds, of course, before I step totally into interesting point of view. And it never shows up the way that you think it's going to show up. So when it shows up the way you don't think it's going to show up, be grateful for that. An interesting point of view again. Interesting point of view that I thought it was going to show up in a different way. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. How are your point of views now? Are you feeling more space, less space? Let's see if anybody is actually willing to answer that question. And isn't it interesting? Oh, look, I am interesting point of view all day long. Everything is getting lighter. More space, more space. You notice how I was just about to start to fill in the space. More peace and more space. Yeah. How many of us have actually bought this really weird to us point of view that we have to constantly fill space, or that because we function from the speed of space, because we function so quickly that we keep jumping in with a question, and we never allow the question time enough to actually create and generate something. And did you notice all of those? I was starting to get really itchy myself. Interesting point of view, Liam. That I was just being total silence. And in that silence, in that space, in that peace and that ease, then something could drop in there. And that's what the tool interesting point of view will start to create in your reality if you're willing to allow it, if you're willing to be interesting point of view about you, if you're willing to be interesting point of view, interesting point of view, interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Less contractions. Yeah. Okay, my friends, we're going to go for tool number 04 tomorrow. Like, I would really like to invite you, if you got anything out of this, please post it on a Facebook page that you know of, an access page or whatever, so other people can get this. Because, you know, if more people are an interesting point of view, and there's less charge, less judgment on the planet, and more acknowledgement of who we be, and less invalidation of who we be, you know, right, what will that create? And if we be that with our children, with all the kids that are coming into the world now, you know, what can we really truly create? And fuck this, only 10,000 people in choosing consciousness. What if there were 100,000 people choosing consciousness? What could we really change then? Are you going to be one of them? Interesting point of view.